Shalom, Ozark Geek here. Well, spring has come to the mountain, and out here getting things ready for spring. New life happening and all that. As you can see here, I've started a garden, added on. Last year we had this raised bed that, for the size of it, it was awesome. It was as I normally do things, as an experiment to see how well it works, and everything we planted grew, and it grew better than we expected. So this year, for my wife, I'm trying to build another garden, and this one is actually on top of the ground. What I've done is layered mulch and compost, kind of like a lasagna style, and I've got like 6 layers here of each. I still got 1 layer left of compost to put on this, and I'm using what they called, the locals called a fruit compost. And there's a lizard out already. Don't know if he'd let me get him. Okay, but anyway, that is fruit and vegetable compost. It appears to be rather rich and it works okay. So we're going to finish this up and start planting it. I built this framework around the raised bed, and we're going to put twine across it and make rows so that her climbing plants, beans, tomatoes, things like that, will have a place to climb. Down here, like I said, everything is an experiment, and this one failed. We got a load of chicken manure from a local chicken farm, and unfortunately it has a bunch of dead chickens in it that need to compost and deteriorate and go away. So that'll probably be a couple of years before I can use that. In the meantime, it reeks to high heaven. This area here, last year my wife planted some vegetables, beans, and so forth. So what we're hoping to do is get some brothers and with tillers and till this ground up here, an area here, and an area back over there. And unfortunately, there is rocks, and back up in here, whoever had this property years ago buried junk, metal, and who knows what in it. Here we've got I'm going to call them walking onions, for lack of a better name, but they're onions of some sort, and they're growing wild here. And over here is my neighbor's garden. He's prepping it up. He did great last year. Tomatoes, peppers, different kinds of peppers, beans, watermelons, pumpkins, all kinds of stuff. After I get the garden situation done, I'm going to come back to the hydroponics, and we're going to get this in gear this year and start using it. I'll put a cover back over the top of it like I had before. Last year I buried the 2 tanks here, 55-gallon tanks, in the ground, put water in them, and when I had plants in them, they did great, but I just wasn't paying enough attention to them, and they died off, and we had other things to do. So I'm going to get back to it this year, clean up this area, and do that. All right, water storage over the winter. Water storage, it had a couple of issues. I had a coupler right here. I was using these rubber couplers that you see here. I was thinking, well, those would be good, flexible. I can change them and pull them off easy. This one came loose and wouldn't go back, so I just put a regular PVC coupler in there and glued it. This piece down here, for the first flush system, this piece broke right down in this area and cracked completely. So I've had to replace that whole unit. And then, let's see, over on this side, I apparently forgot to glue that turn piece in, and I found the whole section out here where it had blown out. The idea of these first flush systems, these pieces here, is they're able to be turned, And you want to turn them to where they're not real tight, but they're just loose enough that water can weep out of them. So that after the rains have occurred, eventually whatever is in the tubes will come out. So the idea is water comes down, goes into the first flush, this tube fills, the one on the right fills, goes up, the one on the left fills, goes up, and inside the tube I've got a, think of a water bottle with sand in the bottom third of it, and that'll go up into the joint here and stop into that reducer, and then at that point the water goes over and goes into the tanks. So we had an inch or so of rain last week, and we've got some in here that it's filled up. It pretty much emptied when that piece was loose and this piece broke, so that's what's done. Let's see, I'm still playing around with solar. Last fall I put a tarp over the trailer. Ultimately we're going to re-roof the trailer when time and money works, but in the meantime, to help keep the sun and water off of it, I put tarps over it. Those are 14 by 48 foot tarps, and I decided to put 2 of them just in case. So you can see the these are the wife's running meat wagons, egg layers, except the two roosters we got, and we're expecting them to start picking up. This is the coop and the run that I built for her for that. So these guys like it, they're happy. And we're hoping to also till up an area here to put a small garden here. I'm thinking like a 10 by 10 foot garden. And so long as we don't have to bug out, the plans are to build things up more and more. This is half of a chicken run that we built, that we used during Sukkot last year, staying at Shofar Mountain, and I built basically the equivalent of 2 of them and cut them in half. And so this is the second half. That'll be a project for later this year, probably during the summer. But that's what I got. That's what's going on. That's what spring is running here. So hopefully you like what you see. I'm open to suggestions about the gardens. Hit the like button. If you're not subscribed when you view this, go ahead and subscribe. Until later, Ozark Geek out.